What's good? What's good, people? It's your boy Kel here with We Think We Know Football. I know we're doing something a little random right now. It's a Wednesday night. Wednesday night, we're going to talk a little bit of fantasy. Okay, we're going to talk a little fantasy. We're going to talk a little bit about injuries that have occurred lately. Just some stuff that's going on that's kind of important to take into this week 5. Um, Gosh, it's kind of hard to think. We're almost to that midway point of the NFL season, and it's bittersweet. Always breaks my heart a little bit, kind of thinking, hey, what are we going to do after football? I mean, I know we're not really there yet, but I mean, I always kind of have that mindset. I hate looking at the end of something because it's so, of course, it's bittersweet. But just real quick, just to get it out of the way, video is sponsored by W Energy. Right now, I'm drinking W myself. I'm just chilling out at home. I'll tell you what, I'm a big hunter. I like to fish a lot. I'll throw that stuff in, throw that stuff in my water, shake it up in the morning, and I'll just sip on it the entire way up to my hunt spot, entire way up to my fishing spot. That's just what I do. And I'll tell you what, that stuff gets you vibrating, man, and it gets you going really good. It gets you stoked for the day. Come Sundays, I like to get up. I like to smoke a little meat. I'll wake up, pour me a little bit of W Energy, and I'm good for the entire day. And I'll tell you what, it gets me buzzing. I'm drinking some right now. My favorite right now is going to be the Japanese yuzu flavored. It's a powder. It comes in a powder. It is zero sugar, sugar free. But I'll tell you what, that shit comes with a kick, man. So if you're sensitive to caffeine, I suggest maybe not trying it. But I'll tell you what, if you guys are looking for that kick, that's where you go. That's what you need to get. But anyway, guys, this again sponsored by W Energy. That is WB Better. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. I want to talk right off the bat. Let's talk about Tyreek Hill. Um, if you guys were watching, Tyreek Hill had a pretty gruesome injury. He was playing against the Jets, tearing multiple ligaments and dislocating his knee against the Jets in that win. Now, obviously, this is kind of one of those at what cost kind of things, and a little bit weird. Watching it back, definitely a gruesome injury. Really hard to watch. Really hard to kind of wrap your head around something that's like that hard to kind of see. It was rough. I mean, see, legs don't twist that way. Let's call a spade a spade. But at the end of the day, what was strange about it is his reaction. He was smiling a lot. He was, acting rather nonchalant about it. Now, how do I feel about that? I don't really know. I mean, like, did he not want to play the season? Is this just kind of like one of those things where he wasn't really looking forward to the season with Tua? Was he not really looking forward to a season with the Dolphins? Because I mean, we all know the Dolphins aren't a top level team. They're definitely not an AFC threat. I mean, they're not even a wild card threat. And I mean, anyone who wants to argue with me there, I'm going to tell you you're full of shit. So, I would say I hate to tell you, but I don't hate to tell you. I think you're full of shit. So even with Tyreek, even with a healthy Tyreek, the Dolphins aren't a serious contender. So maybe Tyreek has like this kind of mentality, like, hey, now that I'm injured, now that I'm off the field, I'm good to go. I'm clear. I don't got to worry about this shit no more. Is that a good thing to think of? Is that, a team leaning kind of mentality? Absolutely not. I don't like it. I think if anything, he kind of showed to us and he showed to me that he's in it for himself. I mean, he's always shown that he's kind of in it for himself. He wants, he does want to win, but he also wants money. He wants that big payday. And the fact that he's staying with the Dolphins, I mean, that's kind of like, there were rumors that he was going to go possibly to the Patriots, somewhere that he could be a contender, somewhere that he can actually, make some waves. So I was interested there. So now for those who do have Tyreek Hill, he is going to be out for the season. So what is a good replacement for him? I mean, you're looking for anyone such as like Lad McConkey, maybe. I mean, Lad, he's up and down as far as with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert playing against the Giants recently. We're going to talk about the Giants here in a little bit, but he's been up and down. His consistency lately, he's not that consistent pick. I'm going to talk to you about my sleeper, and I think my sleeper is going to kind of lead into someone that you could possibly pick up because there's a chance that he could be a free agent right now in your league. And if he's not a free agent, he might be worth the trade. I'm going to tell you why here in a second. But, kind of branching off of how Justin Herbert has kind of been playing. Recently Justin Herbert and um, the Los Angeles Chargers, excuse me, they just had a game against the New York Giants. Okay, New York Football Giants. That was a good one. It was a really good one. Everyone was kind of interested in that game, seeing Jackson Dart taking his first snaps as an actual starter. Russell Wilson beginning his villain origin story. Now, the moment that I found out that Russ Wilson was going to be a Giant, I knew it wasn't going to work out. Obviously, drafting um, Jackson Dart the way they did, when they were definitely grooming him under Russ Wilson. So this was, and whether or not he was going to get benched, whether or not he was going to get hurt, this was inevitable. We were going to see this happen this season. Am I happy for Jackson? I'm very happy, but I am sad for Russ at the same time. Russell Wilson, he's a great, great guy. He's got a great character. I love him. I think he's a hell of a quarterback. Is he Hall of Fame worthy? I'd like to think so, but you can't give everyone a Hall of Fame ticket, unfortunately, and I don't think he's going to get one. Jackson Dart, on the other hand, I mean, he showed a lot of quarterback. Played like an experienced quarterback, if we're being honest. His pocket press, you could tell he was a little nervous in the beginning, rolling out of the pocket. He wasn't as comfortable in the pocket as he usually is. Now, one thing that is very, very dangerous about Jackson Dart is he has some wheels. Okay, like not only can he whip it, because you guys know he can whip it, but once he gets out of the pocket and he runs down the sidelines, he's going to be dangerous. Okay, he was dangerous against against the Chargers, and the fact that they beat the Chargers, the 1-3 Giants beat the 3-1 Chargers, absolutely amazing, absolutely incredible. Good for the Giants, and most of all, good for Jackson Dart taking such a big leap in his career. So I'm glad to see it. The kid deserves it, and he's not boastful, he's not loud, and that's what I like to see. Going into this next game, they are going to have the Saints. Now, Jackson Dart has commented that he kind of has a chip on his shoulder because the Saints didn't pick him up. He kind of is looking at it like, oh, hey, Saints didn't pick me up. This is kind of like, a slap in the face almost. And I don't blame him. I would feel the exact same way if I were him. But he's going to go in there. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. How he performs, I mean, hey, it's up for debate. We're going to have to see how that goes. Now, speaking of like benched quarterbacks, so on and so forth, let's talk a little bit about Joe Flacco. So Joe Flacco recently benched, not for Shedeur Sanders, thank God, because you know how much I love Shedeur Sanders. Joe Flacco was benched recently, and it wasn't for Shedeur Sanders. It was for Dillon Gabriel, who's our second string quarterback. Okay. Now, they did talk to Shedeur about this, kind of asking him what he thought about the situation, whether or not he thought that this was a good move, whether he thinks that, this is going to work out in any way. And, Shedeur, in typical Shedeur fashion, was kind of just dismissive about the entire situation. Didn't really want to talk about it all too much. Now, that said, after that, I mean, Shedeur was kind of like, I don't really want to talk about it. I shouldn't say something. So maybe he is kind of growing up a little bit. I hate to kind of say that. I hate to say that someone has to grow up, but unfortunately, it seems like Shedeur Sanders does have to grow up a little bit. Dillon Gabriel, I don't know enough about him to say whether or not he's good or not. I do know Shedeur has a lot of talent. Okay, so the moment we do see Dillon Gabriel, mess up, then yeah, we're going to see Shedeur. Will we see Shedeur Sanders start a game? We're getting closer and closer to the answer, and I think that answer just might be a yes. The fact that it's week 5 and we're already seeing Dillon Gabriel in, who's our second string quarterback, and we have Shedeur Sanders as the third string quarterback, this is definitely a likelihood, and I'm more than likely going to see Shedeur Sanders as a starting quarterback. And you know what? If I'm the Cleveland Browns, why the fuck not? What's the point? What's going to come of this? I mean, shoot, the way that your season's already going, I mean, hey, you beat the Packers, but I mean, that was kind of a one-off situation, in my opinion. It seemed like a bit of a one-off situation. So, Browns go in, they beat the Packers, and then they kind of have like a little bit of a flame underneath them. So they think that they're going to be great. They think that they're going to have a hell of a season. That's not going to be the case, guys. And I'm sorry, Browns fans. I'm sorry to burst your bubbles, but unfortunately, the playoffs don't look like they're going to be in your picture again this season. Okay. The likelihood of you guys making the playoffs is again like under 3%, I think, which again, as I stated before, the likelihood of us getting slammed into by a comet is about 3% as well. So unfortunately, the likelihood of us getting absolutely obliterated this year is a lot higher than the Cleveland Browns actually winning a Super Bowl, let alone making the playoffs. So if they make the playoffs, I would be very, very, very surprised. Granted, I probably wouldn't be here because I would be absolutely obliterated by the comment that is probably hurling itself towards Earth right now. Because hell, if the Browns win the Super Bowl, might as well, right? Might as well send that comment towards Earth and just wipe us all out. They got a tough one, or a moderately tough one. I mean, so they're going to be playing against Minnesota. Okay, Minnesota's offense obviously not really clicking all too much just yet. I mean, like they're finding those connections, but it's not anything that's too serious. Nothing that's like enough to raise an eyebrow over saying Minnesota's going to win. Minnesota's going to win their division. Um, Now, the thing about Minnesota right now that I noticed, and in the preseason, if you watch our recent videos, I mentioned that I thought Jordan Addison was going to be JJ McCarthy's number one target. That was going to be his favorite target going into the season. Reason being is that's where he was looking. He was always going for those checkdowns for Jordan Addison. Yeah, you have one of the greatest wide receivers in the league, possibly one that's going to go down as one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, hopefully with the talent that he has in Justin Jefferson. But it seems like he's leaning towards Jordan Addison. So when Jordan Addison was suspended those opening games of the year, I kind of thought to myself, well, dang, is this going to be, kind of a reverb as to, you know, I'm not going to be good in the first half of the season, and the next half of the season, I'm going to absolutely tear it up? Or does this even play any sort of factor to JJ McCarthy, since this is kind of his rookie season, basically? I mean, if we're being honest, this is JJ McCarthy's rookie season. Now, as far as the defensive side, which is what, the Browns are obviously going to worry about, which is what Dylan Gabriel is obviously going to worry about. Now, the Vikings haven't allowed more than 24 points overall when it comes to points allowed during a game. Now, Minnesota defense, they're ranked high. They're ranked third overall as far as defenses go. Now, if you're looking at fantasy wise, they haven't scored over 4 fantasy points. I mean, the range of points allowed, yards allowed, everything like that, it's definitely hindered them a lot. They did put a pretty good beating on Cincinnati. Now, putting that beating on Cincinnati did give them that significant boost. They actually scored 33 points in fantasy, which was pretty serious. They ended up registering, I believe it was 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, and I want to say 3 sacks. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But regardless, they really, really popped off against Cincinnati. Really, really great to see, and really, really great, that they were able to exploit that. So with that being said, it seems like the Browns are in a similar situation than the Cincinnati Bengals. You're having issues at quarterback. Is your pocket going to be collapsing like the freaking Cincinnati Bengals defense, or like the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line does? Because it seems like the Cincinnati Bengals can't keep an offensive line to save their life. It just doesn't happen, guys, and I hate to say it. But unfortunately, unless they have a good offensive line, Joe Burrow is just going to keep getting hurt. So there's a possibility that we might not see Burrow with the Bengals that much longer. Again, they did have trouble with Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and Chicago. Those were the 3 teams that they had trouble with. Now, the fact that those are the 3 teams that they had trouble with, that's kind of a red flag in my opinion. It's like Pittsburgh, Atlanta, you got Bijan, but you got Penix. I mean, that's nothing crazy. And Chicago's doing surprisingly good. I mean, they kind of turned it around. They're turning it around right now. Beginning of the year was kind of typical Chicago, in my opinion. But, now we're kind of seeing a new side of Chicago, which I'm kind of liking. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about my pick to boom, pick to bust. My pick to boom this week for week 5 of the NFL season. I got George Pickens. George Pickens, he's got a good matchup against the Jets, okay? George Pickens, like going into this season, everyone was a little skeptical about George Pickens. Reason being is, you got CeeDee Lamb lining up on the opposite side of George Pickens. How is he going to take this? How is he going to adapt to this? Is he going to be able to get the targets that he wants? Is he going to be fighting those defensive backs like he usually did against when he was with Pittsburgh? Dude's a big dude. He's a lengthy guy. And, dude, I'll tell you what, that guy can moss guys like Randy Moss. So, again, he's playing the Jets. Last game against the Packers, which, if you know how I feel about that game, you know how I feel about that game. I was not into that game in the slightest, okay? George Pickens, 8 receptions, 11 targets, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, okay? Very, very good, very, very good showing. So he's found the end zone in every single one of his games aside from one. And that one game was against the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. Now, as far as that goes, that's consistent, man. And I mean, considering that even with those games, CeeDee Lamb was lined up across from him. So that being said, I kind of reverted back to Tyreek Hill being out for the season. If I'm looking for a person to replace Tyreek Hill, it's going to be George Pickens, in my opinion. We don't know how long CeeDee Lamb is going to be out with that ankle injury. By the looks of it, it looks like it was a pretty bad ankle injury. So I felt bad for him. I think he's going to be out for a good while. George Pickens, I think that George Pickens is going to really fill that gap that the Cowboys need. He's long, he's fast, and he can run those routes that the Cowboys need when it comes to driving down all the way down into the end zone. So it's going to be really, really important for him. It's really important for Dak to find him in the end zone. And hey, just a quick heads up, okay, for all Cowboys fans out there, lining up Jake Ferguson one-on-one against Micah Parsons, it's not going to work out, guys. I hate to tell you this, but it's just not going to work out. You're not that guy. Now, who am I picking to bust? I was a little bit on the edge about this one, but I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna select Brock Bowers as my player to bust. Now, why am I saying Brock Bowers? Well, Brock has been having these knee issues for a good while now. He did have a really, really great game against New England, but I think that could have just been a one-off situation. It could have just been an instance where, hey, I'm going to pop off against this team. And then, this is where his knee injury kind of came into place. He has been consistent. He's had like those, top, high 9 kind of games, but it doesn't seem like he's kind of going to keep that pace, especially with his next game. His next game is going to be against the Indianapolis Colts. Okay. Now, this will be the game, in my opinion, that kind of shows his true. I still have not Brock Purdy, excuse me. Do I still have Brock Bowers on my team? Of course I do. I'm still going to keep, I'm not saying drop him in the slightest. I still think that he is going to have time off during the season to nurse his knee. It's going to be something that I think the doctor is going to recommend at some. But as of right now, I do not think that Brock Bowers is going to do all too well against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have been playing. So that break or my bust for this week is going to be Brock Bowers, while my boom is going to be George Pickens. I anticipate George Pickens to actually do very well, averaging probably about 16 points. Game that he's going to have against the Jets. The Jets have a very, very shady offense. I mean, here's one thing to Darren Waller, who hadn't been for how long? I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while since Darren Waller has played. I mean, hell, last time I heard from him, he was like writing raps or he was writing like rhymes or some shit like that. And here he goes. He comes back. And what's the first thing that happens when he comes back? He decides that he wants to be be a Dolphin. So he goes, plays for the Dolphins, and what does he do? He absolutely mosses. So he mosses Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, who was quote unquote arguably the best cornerback in the league right now. But I'll tell you what, I'm not exactly buying it after that, man. If you got like I don't want to call Darren Waller washed up. I never like calling, players washed up. But when you got a player like Darren Waller, who is nearing the end of his career, who had taken a break from sports, and you got someone who you call one of the greatest cornerbacks in the league right now, get absolutely shit on like that, it's not a good look, buddy. Not a good look at all. Anyways, guys, those are going to be my picks as far as fantasy goes, and those are the updates as far as who to start, who not to start, who's been benched, who is starting, and as far as that injury, that biggest injury is going to come out of Tyreek Hill. Again, guys, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate all the love and support. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. And follow us on TikTok. Also, follow us on Spotify. We love all the love that you guys have shown us. We love all the support you guys have shown us. Again, thank you guys very much. Video sponsored by Dubby Energy. If you use the code WeThink, that's capital We, capital Think, and the number 1. Use that code WeThink1 at checkout. When you check out, you get your entire purchase. Can't even talk. your entire purchase. You get 15% off your entire purchase of W Energy products when you use code WeThink1 at checkout. So remember, that's WeThink1 at checkout. That's W Energy. Be better. Again, guys, thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate all the love and support. And don't forget, guys, please keep the faith.